Hey everyone, Connor here today, trip.So. We're going to be taking a look at Roadmaster's battery charge line kit here for our 2020 Jeep Cherokee. So if you're asking yourself why you would need a battery charge line, it's because while our vehicle is in tow mode, our battery does drain a little bit. No matter if it's off or accessory, whatever position we need to have the key in, there's still going to be some slight drain from some of the components on the vehicle. Therefore, in order to prevent a dead battery when we arrive to the campsite, we can charge the towed vehicle's battery here with our motorhome along our trip. So here's what our battery charge line kit basically consists of, which is this circuit breaker here, and then we're going to have a wire that comes around here. It's run to the positive post on our battery, and then it's going to be run down to the front of the vehicle to our trailer connector. Now most people who install this on their vehicle are going to be using a 6-pole trailer connector because it has the extra terminal here to run the charge line to the motorhome. So in regards to installation, this is something that's super simple. Definitely something you can do at home by yourself with little tools or knowledge. We're really only going to have a few connection points, and once we mount our circuit breaker and run our wires, that's pretty much it. So I definitely encourage you to try this one yourself at home. So the first step of our installation here, we want to go ahead and pop the hood on our vehicle here. We need to find a place to mount our circuit breaker here. Now the circuit breaker needs to be close to the battery, so we're going to be working on the driver's side here. We also need to make sure it doesn't interfere with any of the other components, such as closing our hood. So that's something we need to take into consideration while we're mounting this. Also, if you have a newer vehicle and you want things to look nice, we do kind of want to hide this a little bit just to get it out of view. So I went ahead, I found a really good spot here that you guys can use as well. What we're going to do is we're just going to remove the fuse box cover here so we have a little bit more room to work. And then we're actually going to go ahead and tuck our circuit breaker here sort of down into this little pocket here. We want to make sure we're away from the fuse box cover enough so we don't have any issues with interference when we're taking that off. And since we're down a couple inches from this line here, we shouldn't have any issues with our hood closing properly. So I went ahead and made two little marks here with a paint marker to show you where that's going to mount. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to go ahead and drill the holes partially through with our self-tapping screws. And then once I have both of the pilot holes drilled, we can go ahead and mount up our circuit breaker and then attach it. And there we go, we're just going to give it a nice little jiggle here to make sure it's secure. So once we have our circuit breaker mounted, we can go ahead and start to begin running our wire leads. The first one we're going to do is this top one. It's sort of this copper colored terminal here. That's going to be labeled BAT for battery on the circuit breaker. And this post is going to be going to the positive post on our battery, which if we follow here, is going to be right here. We're going to have a 10mm nut, which we need to remove here to attach our ring terminal. Then we're going to have a 3/8 nut, or we're going to be using a 3/8 socket and a 10mm socket to remove the nut here so we can attach our ring terminals. So now we're just going to go ahead and sort of map out how much wire we think we're going to need for this. Looks about here is going to be good, so we'll go ahead and cut this now. Now we're going to remove both of these nuts here, and we're going to crimp on the ring terminals to either side. So we do need to pay attention here about which ring terminal we're attaching where. One of them is going to be the larger ring terminal, which we see here. It's going to have a larger ID here, so it can go around the post on our battery. And the other one is going to be the smaller ring terminal that goes to our circuit breaker. Go ahead and give that a little tug to make sure it's secure. And then now, as we mentioned, we're going to attach the smaller ring terminal on the other end of our wire lead here. And now that that's on there, let's go ahead and make our connection. But before we do that, I'm actually going to use some of the wire loom that came with our kit just so we can protect our wire here. And once we get both of those tight, I'm going to go ahead and secure the rest of our extra wire here. So now that we have our battery connection made, the next one is going to be the bottom post on our circuit breaker here, which is going to be for the auxiliary. It's labeled AUX, and this is going to go up to the front of the vehicle where we have our electrical connector ran, because that's how we're going to transfer the charge line circuit from the motorhome to the towed vehicle. So we're just going to go ahead and take our extra wire that we just cut off from the spool there, and we're going to crimp on our smaller ring terminal here. And once that's done, we're going to go ahead and attach it to the other terminal there on our circuit breaker, and then we're going to route the wire down through here to the front of the vehicle where we have our electrical connector. We're going to go ahead and do that now, and then we'll show you the path we took. Now once we actually get both of these nuts tightened down for our circuit breaker, what we like to do here at eTrailer, we like to take these little covers that we make out of a piece of airline tubing, really whatever you have on hand, we just go ahead and put them over the post here so we don't have to worry about the circuits jumping between the two or any other thing we have under the hood of our vehicle here. So this step isn't required, but it's just an extra precautionary measure we like to do here at eTrailer. So as we said, we went ahead and ran our wire here. We again used the black loom that comes with our kit here for a nice clean finished install look. We just simply attached it here, and we went down back behind the fuse box lid. We have it zip tied here to this cross section here, so it'll support. Then we have it ran behind the filler neck for our washer fluid reservoir. Comes down here, we have it zip tied to an electrical connector there. And then if we look down here, in between the bumper, you can see where we snake the wire loom out here. Again, just a couple more zip ties securing it to the existing harnesses. And then we have the last zip tie here, and it's just hanging freely here. Now we're going to go ahead and mount our electrical connector in this area here, so that's why it's going to terminate here. If you're going to choose a different location, then you may need to extend the wire and secure it further. But now we can put our fuse box cover back on. We can go ahead and attach the wires to the back of our trailer connector here. In order to do this, the first thing we want to do is we want to take off this rubber boot on the back, and we're going to go ahead and just slip that over our wires now. And just shove that back in there. Now what we can do is, we have more wire than we need, which is good, but now's the time where we can go ahead and trim this. Try to trim them all the same length. That'll make your job of connecting it a little bit easier. And now we're going to go ahead and split each of these wires and separate them from the strain. So now we can go ahead, we're going to start here with our charge line wire. You may have a different circuit here, but chances are if you're using a 6-pole on the front of your vehicle, it's because you need that charge line that runs from the motorhome to the vehicle's battery here so it can remain charged while in tow. So we're going to go ahead and attach this one first. This is actually a live circuit here, so you want to be careful that we're not shorting it out to any of the other circuits. But this red wire here, which we're using for the charge line, whatever color wire you used, we're going to be attaching that to the center pin of our trailer connector here. We're going to take a small Phillips head screwdriver, and we're just going to back that screw out slightly, enough so we can get our wire in there. We don't want to back it out completely because they're really tiny and they're really easy to lose. So once we have about 1/4 inch of the jacket, go ahead and just slide that in there like so. Then we can tighten down our screw here. So the next wire we're going to attach is our white wire here, which is for the ground. And if we look on the back of our trailer connector here, we should see a terminal labeled GD, which is for ground. So let's go ahead and connect that one next. Just tighten that screw down. And again, after all these, go ahead and just give them a nice little wiggle to make sure it's secure. The next circuit we have here is the brown wire, which is for the tail lights and the running lights. And this one is going to go to the circuit labeled TM right there on the back of our trailer connector. Now next we have our green wire, which will be for the right stop/turn signal circuit. This will go to the RT terminal here, And then last but not least, we have our yellow wire, which is for the left stop / turn signal circuit. This will go to the terminal labeled LT on the back of our trailer connector. So before we slide our black boot over our connections here and mount everything up on the vehicle on our bracket here, we're going to be taking some gasket maker and we're going to coat all these pins here, try to fill up the space here so we don't have to worry about any circuits jumping on us or any rust or corrosion issues, which could cause issues with our lights. Now we can take the black boot, we can slide that over. And then finally, the last step here would be to go ahead and mount the trailer connector onto our bracket. Once we get that nice and secure, the final step here is we're going to take some dielectric grease. We're just going to coat the pins inside the trailer connector here, again to help prevent any rust or corrosion issues. Now we can go ahead and test out our lighting. There's a couple different ways to do this. We're using a jump box, which we have here at eTrailer, but if you have your motorhome close by, that would probably be ideal as well. Let's go ahead and turn this on here. We should first see our tail lights on either side. Now we're going to go to the left turn signal, our brake lights, and then our right turn signal. So there we go. Now we have everything hooked up and we can ensure it's all working. And that's going to do it here for our look and installation of Roadmaster's battery charge line kit for our 2020 Jeep Cherokee.